Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you how I installed pedal steering in my Bonafide RS117 kayak. Now, in this video, I'll be showing you how to install the guide tubes and also the line guides, as well as how I connected it up to my trolling motor on the kayak. Now, the basic ideas in this video can also be used on other kayak installs as well. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. These are the parts I'm going to be using in this project. I have a pair of these one objective line guides. I also have this 1/4 inch tubing, and this is made for drip irrigation systems. And the reason I chose that is because it's made to handle harsh environmental conditions like sun and water. And also, it's a lot less expensive than some of the other alternatives out there. And then I'm also going to use this 2mm diameter Dyneema line, which is also rated for harsh environments. And then these 2mm Aluminum Ferrules. This is the location I decided to drill the hole for my 1/4 inch tubing that's going to come out and connect my steering line to the foot pedal. And what I did was, since I'm going to be connecting it in here on the pedal, I took a level across to the spot, and that's where I decided to drill the hole. That way there'll be no kinks in the line when I go ahead and connect up to this foot pedal. This is how I was able to pull the tubing from the back access hatch up to the front hole here, which is going to connect to my foot pedal. What I did was I used this metal fish tape, ran it through to the back, cut a V slot in this tubing here, and then wrapped it with some duct tape so it wouldn't pull off, and then I just pulled it through and popped it right out. Now I pulled out a little bit extra here so I can flare the end and to make sure it doesn't come through this hole. So I've got my lighter. I will heat up this end, and then I'm going to mash it on this metal flat ruler right here. And that's going to give me my flare. I'll let it cool down, and then I'll pull it tight and work on the back end. Now that I have my Dyneema line all the way through, what I'm going to do is drill a little hole right here in this section of the foot pedal, and I'll then thread the Dyneema line through that hole, and I'll tie it off in a knot in the end. And if that doesn't work, I can always use ferrules to make sure it stays in there tight. Here's a close-up of the hole I drilled in there that I'm going to be running the Dyneema line through. So this is the finished setup for the foot peg. You can see I have my line coming out from the hole here, and it's going out across here and straight over here through the hole I drilled, and I tied a knot in the end. Now the reason I didn't drill a hole here for the tubing is because if you look, I'll just pull it a little taut here, you can see it's level. If I had drilled the hole through here, it would have had to come up at an angle and at a curve. So every angle and curve that you make with your tubing is a friction point. And that's one of the reasons why I always use Dyneema line, because it's rated for outdoor environments, it's very strong, and it also won't act like a saw blade like stainless steel cable does. And that's why I never use stainless steel cable. This is how I'm going to drill out the hole for my steering control guidelines. And this is the stock guideline that you can buy from One Objective, which I did, and they mounted it on the kayak when they drilled this hole through there. And I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to take the chance of damaging the kayak. So what I'm doing is I put it in my vise and I set the hole up so it goes straight down. And then what I'm going to do is take an oversized drill bit, which is a little bit larger than a 1/4 inch, which is the diameter of the tubing I'm going to be using, and I'm going to drill it through so the tubing will fit. And there it is. There's my 1/4 inch hole straight through, and of course I'll clean this up. But this is a lot easier in my opinion when I was putting this together. I wanted to give you a close-up of what the end looks like now. And you can see it's got that little flare on the end that'll keep it from sliding all the way through the hole. And when I pull it tight, here's the final look of it. This will be tighter in there, and you can see that it's not going to fall through. Now all I have to do is run it through the hole and then bring it out through the other side to attach to the foot pedals. Now, because of the setup I used for my pedal steering, which I will show you later on, I mounted the One Objective line guides on the inside here facing sideways. And I've got it already loosely drilled in, and then I cut my slot. So what I'm going to do is bring out the tubing through that slot and then run it through this One Objective piece here, because it'll be easier to do it that way, and then I'll go ahead and flare the end like I did in the front. This is what it looks like when I've pulled the tubing through the hole I've already done, and then through the One Objective piece here. Then I'm just going to go ahead and tighten everything down, clip it, and flare the end, and I'll be done with this side. Okay, so the last thing to do here was just to thread my Dyneema line from the back to the front, and it popped right out. So I connect it to the foot pedal. One of the trickiest things is to figure out how long your control lines need to be. And I wish I could say there's some mathematical way to do it, but it's just kind of like trial by error. So once I kind of got it zeroed in to the length I wanted, I jammed screwdrivers into each of the tracks so I could hold it in position. Now you're probably saying, well, why don't you just leave these in? Which I removed, the brakes, because they won't stop exactly where you might meet them. So I just snapped them out and then found where my pedals needed to be, and that's how I set it. Okay, so I've already installed the tubing, the One Objective line guides, and then I threaded my Dyneema line through the tubing and attach it to my steering control arm. And I'm going to show you the rear end of the kayak and how everything comes together. So since I mounted mine on the side like this, I needed to get the line to deflect in a straight line fashion to keep from rubbing, like I mentioned before. And how I did that was using stainless steel pad eyes, which, because they're stainless steel, they have less friction. So I ran it underneath here and then up through a center eye bolt, which is mounted to the trolling motor mount. And then running the line through that back to the steering control arm there increases my turning radius to up to 90 degrees, which means I can do donuts on the water. So that's how my setup is. So that's it. If you have any questions, please leave them for me in the comments. Thank you.